Hi, welcome to the video. You know, I think I may have found the one thing that's really going to hold Live Golf back and curtail people's interest in it. Obviously, money has been the biggest driving force of this from the get-go. Obscene amounts of money. And the pool of players that they're using is a very small one, right? So to get into this elite field, if you want to call it elite, it's elite in the respect that they decide who they're buying to play in their field, and they're very quick to dismiss and throw you out. Over 19 players have been in the original first event at the London Club and then booted out, so they're no longer in Live Golf. But today the headlines are all about Dustin Johnston's 29 million windfall leaves the golf world gobsmacked. And probably in this current climate, and before this all happened, you know, with the global catastrophe of the energy crisis, then getting just everything else going on, mortgage rates, interest rates, the likes of you, me and every other person who's watching sport at the moment, we're all worried about the cost of living. Then you've got this extreme. Now, you've always had like mega money, but now you've got a split of your favourite golf stars who have joined this Super League. And in Dustin Johnston's case, he's the 29 million he got. He's only actually it says here, and I'm going to have to read this again because I can't believe he got 29 million. I'm sure it says, yeah, I actually had to look at that twice. I thought it said 16 events, but it's not 16 events. 6 events he's played in, and he's won this 29 million in total from 6 events. That's, if you believe the reporting press, headlines, everything like that, this is apparent 29 million, right, is over and above his signing on fee. Now, we don't really know because we haven't seen all the contracts and all the ins and outs of it. But some of these players have signed for upwards of $200 million to begin with. So, is golf heading for a, let's put it like this, Jack Nicklaus and a few other older players can see this happening. You've got Live Golf, who's basically like threw the hand grenade into the flimming room and shut the door, right? And the PGA Tour in response have raised their prize money. Maybe not the right thing to do. Inclusivity would have been better, getting more players in, attracting more, and they are doing that to a degree. They've upped the lower portion of it as well as the top portion of it. So now you've got 2 kind of leagues, if you like to call that, or golf agencies now at loggerheads, and it's all about money. But the effect it's having is the lower down tours, and in Britain as well, we've lost the Europro, the Jamaica Tour. I mean, all these tours that are stepping stones to get you into the European Tour or DP World Tour, they're failing because of lack of investors, and there's no money. Back to the global crisis of that we're going through. So when one domino falls, you get a knock-on effect. See where I'm coming? So the whole top-heavy money side of it is not helping. It's a bit like the plan they've got: cut taxes at the top, the money will work its way down. When does that ever happen? Very rarely, because people like Dustin Johnson, who have just won 29 million, and previous to that 200 million, if you believe all this hype, like I say, it'll all come out in the wash because the court case is ongoing, and these contracts are being exposed in the court. So the loopholes and all the wee things that's why, bizarrely, 7 or 8 of them all pulled out. There's only actually 2 or 3 players left going to court. It does beg the question: do the rest of them want to hedge their bets as to say, oh, well, if I drop this court action, I might be able to get back into the PGA Tour at a later date, or I might, be able to play in the majors. It's all up in the air at the moment. But these players, Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, all these players, once they hit that point of like 200 million plus, right, they're living in a different world to the common man, right? They build or buy 7 to 8 million pound houses. They fly in private jets. They maybe buy a private jet at like 70 million or whatever. They buy a yacht, right? They do things that no money from all that ever filters down, because it's all on another level. So I think that's where Liv has its biggest problem, and it's the people watching just don't want to relate anymore, or can't relate anymore, to a guy whacking a ball round a course with no cut and making 29 million. The guy who's playing the 36 hole events, making the cut, and then playing the next 36 hole events, winning that major trophy, and maybe lifting a cheque for 6 or 7 million for a major. That's still an outrageous amount of money, but the sports fan can relate to that because it's a major. And I think that's where the stumbling block for all this sports washing, what we want to call it, throwing money at something in obscene amounts like that, eventually alienates your audience by turning them off. And you can see that by the YouTube figures. If you look at the figures for Live Golf watching, there's channels out there, golf channels that are small YouTubers that get more views than Live Golf on YouTube, and that about says it all. If they can't get the views on a free view, well produced, it's not like it's rubbish. It's well produced. There's good commentary. Well, there's commentary. There's good cameras. It's a bit patchy with a shotgun start, and there's no. That's the other thing. There's no much continuity between a drive, an iron, a wedge, a putt. It jumps everywhere. But they're trying to make it exciting. But it ends up just like, oh, he's putting for birdie, he's putting for eagle, he's putting for birdie, he's putting for eagle. You could say that happens on the PGA Tour, but not to the same degree. And you get a bit more continuity of what looks like actual golf. Get what I'm saying? So I just think that golf is in a very precarious position. And the global market, with the energy crisis and heating bills and everybody, like there was a pub in Northern Ireland last week. The guy got his electricity bill in for the month. It was £20,000, right? And the same in a pub in Cornwall, £22,000 a month for energy, for the electricity bill alone. £22,000. Now, like I say, it goes back to the dominoes. Once one falls, how can you possibly pay your staff, pay your rent and your council taxes and all business rates, right? And after that, have bought all your stock, and then after that, pay that energy bill and even think about making a profit. If a pub's getting that for an energy bill, think about your big clubhouses and what they're going through. So any profits that they've made with a booming golf are just basically cancelled out. You might find yourself in a worse position if this continues long enough. I mean, this is only the start of it. It's not really got to the winter yet. And if you're a householder with a mortgage, you maybe lease your car, you maybe have a lot of overheads, the first thing that usually you look at is trying to cut your overheads or not putting your heating on. But eventually you'll have to put your heating on. So the whole thing is like the wee seesaw. At the moment it's teetering and it could go either way. It's likely to go, but it's a waiting game. And the problem is with a waiting game, anything that sticks its head up and flashes megabucks about is just a turn off for the viewership, you know, because it doesn't reflect what everyone else is going through, you know, totally struggling. I'd like to be more positive, but you see, you've got to be realistic about it. If you can see it coming, like if you were in the Titanic and you saw the iceberg coming far enough away, you would avoid that iceberg, wouldn't you? You would steer away from it if you had the time. So it's not like you're not getting pre-warned that this is going to happen. It's slowly, it's a slow ticking time bomb. It's just the question marks there. What are the long term or medium to short term effects of this going to be? I can't see there being any good news coming. That's what I'm saying. On the whole cost of living crisis, stroke, Live Golf, PGA, DP World Tour, all the other affiliated tours that fed into that tour, if they can't get the money, if people start losing their houses, the mortgage, most big businesses tied up in real estate and housing, then you get then house prices crash, nobody's able to buy them. You might be buying them cheap, but you can't get a mortgage. It's a vicious circle. It perpetuates, and then eventually it's boom bust. But it wouldn't even be a boom. It's just bust. You end up like with houses going back, cars going back, and we're not just talking one or two. We're talking thousands, flooding the market. Nowhere for them to be offloaded. Businesses start to go, pubs start to go, domino effect. It's unsustainable, isn't it? I think we can all see that. It's just where the golf clubs fall in this. I think, like, you know, golf clubs, right, I could see crazy situations happening where golf clubs mothball the clubhouse, right? So from, say, Monday to Friday, that clubhouse never opens and the power's off, right? And on a Saturday, they come in, switch the lights on for a period of 6 hours only to service the golfers that play at the weekend, and then it goes off again, right? thereby saving X amount of pounds. It's not a long-term answer, but it might be a short-term answer for your golf club to actually stop the hemorrhaging. Because if you've got lights on and there's nobody in, I know you've got to still have some sort of security, but it's a scary place to be right now, you know. People in business and people who own businesses or volunteer for golf clubs, right? Because most people volunteer to be on a committee. There's not enough, or how do you say to them, right, you've got to batten down the hatches, right? Because like the last thing they want to be doing is scaremongering or like panicking. But in reality, what you're really doing is you're battening down the hatches and you're preparing for what could be the biggest storm to ever hit the financial markets and trickle down economics that everyone keeps talking about. Biden being the one who's saying trickle down economics have never ever worked because the rich just keep getting richer. And like I say, they're on this other level, so the trickle down part of it doesn't they're not even shopping for food in the same shops you or me go to, you know, so it doesn't ever filter down really. I don't know, you tell me in the comments, how scared are you about this? I mean, if you're like a thinker or someone who looks at the news and analyses it, and like you've literally got like you know, near enough everybody telling you how apocalyptic this is going to be. I think because you've been told for so long, the last 3 months, this is going to be the biggest like apocalyptic thing ever to happen, that you're now numb to the fact. You hear words like apocalyptic and things like that, and you're thinking, well, can't be that bad. You know, it chips away at the first thought is, well, sure, this doesn't look good. And then, you know, but they're talking like, just to give you an example, like if you can't get a fixed rate mortgage, or if you're coming off a fixed rate mortgage, you won't get another fixed rate mortgage well within the realms of what you were. So you could be, let's just say you were £400 a month for your mortgage. Just within one little ding, you're now £800 or £900 a month for your mortgage. It's near tripled, and in some cases it will. How is that feasible? If your income, which all of us are in this boat, because you've not had a wage rise, you've not had a pay rise, if it's not going up to cover these costs, and they're not really, they are helping slightly with the energy, but not enough to offset what's coming. So you're still going to have huge energy bills, 2,500 quid. You were paying 1,500, so it's gone up 1,000, 1,200. Your mortgage goes up like that. You're talking like just your cost of living is going to outweigh what you're getting, and so likes of holidays, maybe you're going to have to think about subscriptions to golf clubs. Not them all, but the ones that are like costing you the same as your mortgage, you know. I mean, you know, if you're in the clubs that are really like expensive to be a member of, that's where, and here's where it's a ticking time bomb as well for golf clubs, and they think that they're immune to this. The bigger the golf club, right, like I'll not name any, but they've got, oh yeah, but we've got a waiting list to get in here. It's 5 years long, right? Tremendous. So you've got a full membership just now, and you think you're protected because you've got a 5-year waiting list to get in. Right, but what happens if, like, comes to the AGM, and worst case scenario, 30% of your membership resign because they can't pay the fees for the next, again, season, right? and they just see it. They can't possibly do it. They've like looked at everything. I've got to resign. You then go to your 5-year waiting list, and you find that the first 10 people have like, oh no, sorry, I can't afford it now. And it goes on down the list. So your waiting list is a fantasy of just people who don't have the money to join, because you've still got it's £2,000 to join, and then on top of that it's £900 a year membership, because you've got these clubs are in absolute, even the big clubs are in big trouble, and if they can't see it right now, that's what I'm saying. If you know there's a storm coming and it's going to be bad, or like the Titanic, and you see that fucking iceberg from miles away, you're going to fucking have to batten the hatches down and fucking avoid it if you can. Sorry for the French, but if you just stick your head in the sand and think that you'll be fine because you've got this 5-year waiting list, and we make all our players members pay £2,000 to sign on, and then £900 a year, so we'll be fine. People will not have the money. People will not have the money to lease cars. People will not have the money to go on holidays abroad, we're talking. Apart from, we go back to live, the super rich. So you've now really classified the world in like super rich, rich, us. It's like the divide is getting bigger, and I've not got the answers, but I can see the problems like glaring headlights coming towards us. Now, if, like I say, you just decide, and I'm going to ignore it, you might not have a golf club next year, but on home, let's get some cheery. Well, it's not really any cheery. Have you watched the news lately? There is no cheery news anywhere. I mean, it's not. We've just all got to hang in there and try and get through it. But it's going to be a lot longer coming through and out of this than anybody is thinking right now. Comment below. You got any ideas? Because Liz Truss sure needs some help. So comment below. Up here in Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon needs a bit of help as well. Comment below. See, everyone in a position of power is now scrambling for stuff that possibly won't really work, but they're just plucking ideas and thinking something might. It's like a dam, right? And a wee leak starts, so you plug that leak, but then another leak starts, so you plug that leak. Before you know it, you've got leaks everywhere and you just can't plug them all. Well, if you've made it this far, congratulations, because it's not exactly been an uplifting video, but it could be worse. Rangers got beat last night 7-1 off of Liverpool. That was quite a shock. And with standard football, the goals were tremendous, but brutal. Right. Channels All for Charity. We are still trying to raise money for charity. Macmillan, Help the Heroes and Shelter UK. I've got a bit of a cold. Thanks for watching, and subscribe. All the money, ad revenue, goes to charity. Thanks for watching.